Hey everyone, Higher Running Coach and Hoka Athlete Canaday here with an announcement, an exciting new video series. Yes, we're going to do a series of dedicated videos leading into my build up for my next big goal. Yes, 2024 is not over yet. I got big goals, and a little hint here. Any surface, any distance has been a motto. It's also a motto with our higher running training plans because we've had experience doing a lot of different races from 5Ks and 10Ks. I was running track in school, doing a lot of those, and then of course road running, mainly half marathons, and then getting into mountain ultra trail running, which is a wide range of events there. I've had a lot of success since 2012 doing short distance mountain running, especially even like 10K mountain racing and 50K mountain racing, but also less technical trails. Obviously done some really technical sky running mountain races, but less technical trails, 50 miles, 100K. I will admit though, I have not had great success myself at the 100-mile distance. Coach Sandy has for sure though. She does great at 100-mile races, but I digress. I want to mix it up more. I want to expand things. And you're thinking about any surface, any distance. I've actually never done a flat ultra distance race, especially a flat long distance race. And it got the wheels spinning a bit. I got thinking of something really crazy. It might be a horrible idea since my track record at 100-mile distances on trails and in the mountains has not been great. I mean, I've had 4 starts at UTMB. I have finished that once though. I will pull up a picture there from 2017. Finished UTMB in the pouring rain, in the cold, in the dark, almost going into the second night, gutted it out, but also not finished UTMB a lot of times. And that course has been really tough for me, I'll admit. But same thing even before my health issues, even before my pulmonary embolism, even before I got into my late 30s, I kind of had some major meltdowns at Western States, gutted it out and finished. Still got 11th place, 17 hours, but it was not pretty. I was walking a lot of the last 30 miles, 40 miles, so 60K at Western States on a, pretty hot day, but that's par for the course there. I really haven't started that many super long ultras. When I say super long, we're talking about those 100 miles, 160K. So what I have in store now? Well, first off, I will say my next actual event is I'm going to be a guide, a pacer guide for Achilles International through Hoka and Achilles. I'm paired up with a really cool special athlete that I'm going to be pacing at the New York City Marathon in 5 weeks. Now that's a guide responsibility, that's a pacing responsibility. New York City Marathon, super exciting, honored to be able to take part in that and help this runner out. So we're going for a pretty ambitious goal of maybe 240 pace type of thing. So I need to make sure I'm in at least 230 shape for the marathon, and that's in 5 weeks. But more pressing after that, the main goal of this fall and probably the rest of the year is, drum roll please, let me get a sip of coffee here out of my Camelback coffee. Check it out. It's a sponsor plug. I'm going to enter, or I have entered, and I am training for the 24-hour USA Championship. 24 hours doing a loop course. It's the 24-hour USATF Championship. For, if you do well there, you could actually make a world team in France in 2025, Team USA. But certified, it's got the rules, it's got the drug testing, it's got a lot of official rules actually, because USATF events are run more like Olympic trials and national championships. It's not like any ultra where you could just there's different rules for private ultra trail events, but this is very formal. This is the USATF National Championship for Team USA, 24 hours. How far can you run? How far can I run in 24 hours? It is a Aravepa running race. They have a course, and they've done this. They do have a series of these things, but it's going to be just outside of Phoenix in Goodyear, Arizona, I believe. So pretty close to sea level for me, but it could be hot. More on that later. On a 1 mile, actually a 0.98 mile loop, and it's paved. I believe it's concrete. That's even harder than asphalt. That's also going to be a challenge. More on that later. A 0.98 mile loop, so about 1,600 meter loop. It climbs, it's basically flat. It climbs maybe 6 feet, 2 meters a lap. So you're running circles on this essentially 1 mile loop for 24 hours. And it's how far can you go? Farthest distance wins. Now, it could be a horrible disaster for me. I'm not gonna lie. It scares the crap out of me. It also intrigues me and excites me more than a lot of events have, honestly, because it's totally different. It's totally different. I haven't even tried really a flat ultra, let alone a paved ultra, but I do come from the road running experience, and there's three main constraints, three unique challenges that'll be the theme of this series that I'm gonna break down that I think are super important for this race, and there's still obviously things that I'm experimenting with, and that'll be part of the process that I'm trying to document here. I've got a training plan that's not quite filled in here, but we're about 8 weeks out, so we're in crunch time already. The training's going up, so I think I'll go into the first principle of training for this monstrous event, because we're gonna try to go way over 100 miles. We're going to try to go way over 160K to 200K, right? Hopefully. I could crash and burn after 10 or 12 hours and pull out. I don't know. But we're ramping up the mileage, and you can see that on Strava. I post 100% of my training on Strava. Give me a follow at Sage Canaday. 100% of my training. A lot of pros and elites don't do that. They'll hide workouts, they'll hide heart rate data. They won't post all their training on Strava. They might exaggerate things. I don't. What you see is what you get with me. So follow me on Strava if you're interested in the training for that. You could see I'm ramping up. I ran 100 miles last week, 160K. Before that, it was about 90 miles, and ramping that up real quick. Probably didn't help that it probably helps that I didn't finish UTMB. Wasn't as beat up, so ramping it up. It's a lot of flat miles though, a lot of paved miles. I have this bike path between where I live and outside of Salida, where it's not a perfectly flat bike path, but we're up at 2,000 meters, 7,500 feet of elevation, and it's awfully windy. It's kind of hot. It's not the fastest bike path, but I've been running a lot of runs, a lot of miles out there already, getting used to the pounding of the pavement and ramping up that mileage. And I'll show you the progression in the next video series of what kind of long runs and high mileage I'm going to be doing. I'm aiming for 115 miles this week, which is a lot. It's a lot more than what I've been doing for a long time. But I think the number one principle, well, there's going to be three principles, but I'm going to start with this one. I'm not saying it's the most important, is the skeletal muscular stress and the efficiency of having to run for 24 hours on a uniform surface, a paved surface that's extremely hard, right? The challenge is going to be your muscles are going to be falling apart, everything's going to be hurting really bad, and you don't want a muscle to totally fail and cramp up. You don't want to have to walk too much. You want to be able to keep running at a pretty solid, fast pace for a whole day and night. So to get really strong, to get really efficient, I've been putting in a lot of miles on the flat, hard surfaces and callousing myself up. I'm also planning on probably rotating some Hoka shoes, going through some different pairs, but don't want to have to stop and got to minimize time, but also minimize running economy or efficiency, which is how well you utilize oxygen for a given pace over a given work output, basically. So it's an efficiency measure, and getting efficient, usually it's more spending time on feet, putting in the big miles at slightly faster than race pace or right around goal race pace. And I'm not gonna lie, I have really ambitious goals. More on that later in future episodes probably, but we're looking at no lollygagging here. It's flat, there's no excuses. You gotta run faster when it's not a mountain race, right? Hopefully not gonna be any power hiking. That being said, I also don't have to carry any gear really either, so there's that. So that's the first thing, is skeletal muscular stress, building up the endurance and stamina running economy, which is super important. Still doing speed training for New York, but building that efficiency, building that aerobic engine, super important. That goes into principle number 2. Principle number 2 is nutrition, hydration, fueling, we'll call it, right? Don't want to get massively dehydrated and be breaking down and have to pull out because of massive dehydration. It could also lead to stomach issues, which we'll parlay into in a bit. But don't want to run out of glycogen either, so need to be taking in, smashing carbs, so to speak. I think I could get away with less carbs because hopefully at the pace and heart rate values I'm running at, I won't need to smash maybe as many carbs as I would in a high altitude mountain race. I don't know yet. Obviously, it's a fine balance though with how much fluid you're drinking in terms of volume of fluid, milliliters or liters of fluid per hour, but then also the relative sodium concentration, which I'm experimenting with too after some tough issues. I'd say a lot of my stomach issues, my theory is that it comes out of hydration, mainly. You could have too much sugar too fast and that could throw your stomach off. You're also getting blood flow diverted from your GI tract and you're pushing really hard. Mental stress, that could make you feel nauseous, have the stomach shut down. But I know at like Western states, I was extremely dehydrated when I struggled to finish there. And it was also really hot and I was pushing, course record pace for 100K there and I couldn't handle it. So stomach revolted. The stomach revolts when you're pushing really hard, but the hydration could be really key, I think, and there's going to be some science that hopefully Sandy and I could get into in the next coming weeks and next episode where we could show you how I'm trying to figure that puzzle out. Sandy's got it figured out a lot more than me. I'll be consulting with her too, but nutrition, super important, hydration, because of the stomach distress, but also keeping yourself hydrated so your muscles don't turn to cement. And also the relative heat. It could be really hot in Phoenix, even in the winter. So I'm a little worried about getting ready for hot afternoons, especially as it gets cooler here in the mountains of Colorado, because the race is late November. So there could be a huge temperature swing between afternoon miles in this hot sun versus at night where it actually could get a little chilly, but that's generally better for running faster. Third final principle, of course, is the stomach issues. How do we overcome the stomach? We can't be having GI distress and having that shut our race down. That's happened to me, obviously, at UTMB just last month, basically. And in a lot of the longer ultras I've done, I've suffered with great stomach distress. And I think a lot of it could be hopefully mitigated with being in really good shape, not having to be breathing too hard, not getting that blood diverted from the GI tract too much, but then also proper hydration and nutrition. So staying hydrated, getting the sodium balance correct, getting the fluid intake correct for how much fluid loss I'm having and how much I'm utilizing fuel. And again, with efficiency and the mileage, we're ramping things up. We're still doing some intensity. We're doing weightlifting. We're doing all sorts of things now because I need everything optimized for this type of really demanding performance, and it's gonna be a challenge, but I'm excited about it. I want to share these episodes with you as I go into this. How far can I run 24 hours? Let me know your comments below. Let me know what you're training for, how you're doing. Maybe you'll be at the New York City Marathon. I'm also definitely doing Boston in April, so got into the Boston Marathon. Congrats if you did too. It was a big cutoff, over almost 7 minutes under the qualifying standards. But I digress there. We're going to start training. We're ramping things up. I'm doing track workouts. I'm doing some speed, but I'm doing super high mileage. I'm going to do some super long runs as well in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that, as well as training the gut, heat training, you name it. We're trying to prepare on all sides for this monstrous event going down, the US 24-hour Ultramarathon Championships. Thank you to all the Patreon supporters that really make this channel possible, as well as title sponsor Hoka, also Camelback, cool plug, Chorus. Check out our training plans at Higher Running. That's higherrunning.com. Give us a follow on social media. We got a newsletter with free tips. Give Sandy a follow. Her channel is all linked to up there. Sandy Nightpaver, as well as our Higher Running website. And I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Strava at Sage Canaday. Thanks for subscribing and liking these videos. And stay tuned for more via 2Max Productions.